All right, welcome to episode 7 of Crash Podcast. I'm your host, Bjorn Thompson. I have a different guest than the few episodes that I've had before this, but this man has been an inspiration to me personally. His story is amazing, and I was absolutely ecstatic when he agreed to do the podcast with me. Cody Jefferson, if you guys don't follow him on Instagram, on Facebook, if you don't know who this man is, please seek him out. Addiction or not, anything, even if you've never had those kind of troubles in your life, this man is an inspiration, and his perspective is refreshing to say the least. So, Cody, thank you for joining me, and please give a little introduction on yourself.
An introduction. Well, one, thanks for having me. I love that we connected through a mutual friend, Justin, and that we're able to have this conversation. What do you want to know about me? Listen, I'm a trophy husband first. I am the father of Stetson Foster and the bonus dad of Titus Oliver. And I live in the lovely state of Oklahoma, which if you hang out on this podcast long enough, you're going to hear it. I'm a man that is obsessed with life. I have the fortunate opportunity to walk alongside founders and artists and celebrities, just answering the deeper conversations once success hits. So we do that in a number of different ways, both through the growth of organization, through structured leadership and the development of teams and structuring entities for exit and acquisition. And on the backside of that, again, walking people who have found themselves in a great deal of influence at a rather quick pace. How do we stabilize that? And how do we, not sacrifice our soul on the altar of some self-perceived success? The backside of that, man, which is the kind of the breadth of what I do. I mentor. I'm a lighthouse, and that's the way God has made me, and that's what God has chosen me for. And so I walk it humbly. On the backside of that, I'm the CMO of a CPG company called American. So we're a light beer company, and then we also have apparel. Speaking of apparel, I'm a director of operations and operating partner for an apparel company called Spiritual World Tour, and then I've got a couple other entities inside of my portfolio where I sit on the board and I advise. So, yeah, and travel and speak. But man, most days you're going to find me. I'm obsessed with old stuff, so you're going to find me under the hood of either my 95 Power Stroke or my 84 GMC or my 89 Bronco, or I got a whole fleet of old junky Harleys that I love to just consistently tinker on and chop up and ride. So I've been a licensed mechanic for about 22 years, a licensed barber for about the same. So, I'm one of those that my grandpa told me early on, get your degrees. That's good. Absolutely. But there's going to come a time when good men are afraid to get their hands dirty. So I've just, when you grow up lower middle class and you don't have enough money to get things fixed, you learn how to solve problems real quick. And I think that's kind of what's made me dangerous in business is I just look at business as an engine. And so here we are, man. That's me in a nutshell.
That is, I can empathize with learning how to fix things yourself.
Yeah.
And then once you get a little bit older, you realize how much your time truly is worth.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but yes, I'm an engine tinkerer myself. I got a bike outside. I'm a hobbyist welder. I'm a retired chef, and chefs have to fix everybody's problems.
That's true.
And I'm on my 4th truck now, so someday it'll be an 8K5.
What are you running right now?
Well, right now I had a 2012 Tacoma or Tundra Platinum that was lifted, and I put 250,000 on that. And then during a duck hunting morning, I believe, well, the insurance ruled it as a mechanical failure. It ended up going in the lake, and when I got in the truck, finally, I was up to my stomach. 35-inch tires, 3-inch lift, and in the lake.
There you go.
But I think it might have been my 80-pound Labrador that knocked the shift lever because it was still running. My mistake.
Fair enough.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So now I drive a 2025 Tacoma because I bought it in October and I have almost 18,000 miles on it already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I drive a lot.
Yeah, you do. Clearly.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love the feel of 2 wheels though.
That's it. I love to be behind the wheel or the handlebars of something. And my son was asking me that, Dad, why don't we have anything real fast? And I said, well, son, the older I get, the less I'm in a hurry to get anywhere. Life moves fast enough. I just want to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I know several people who have owned rockets and rolled rockets, and I've ridden one once. I will
Yeah.
never own one. If I own one, I will die shortly.
There you
So,
go.
nuh-uh. I'm
There you
good.
go.
I don't ride my bike when it's bad weather. I don't ride my bike when I'm not in a good spot. I ride it to chill.
There you
That's it.
go. That's it.
So, awesome, man. You are an amazing cat. And I'm glad to empathize. I'm glad to be able to empathize and relate to you
Yeah,
on
man.
this new level.
Yeah.
So, Crash Podcast, we dive into a little bit of the crashes that people have seen. And although you aren't similar to a lot of the guests that I've had so far, you have seen your own share of crashes in your own ways and been very crash adjacent in life and walked through that. And not only walked through that, but become what you have become now. And that is leaps and bounds beyond, I'm sure, what you thought of as a child.
Yeah. Well,
So
sure. Yeah.
let's kind of dig back a bit and talk about the beginning. Where did some of life start taking you, where you saw, looking backwards, the beginnings of where crashes were coming from, the beginnings of some of the difficult times?
Sure.
Let me put that into context. I truly still believe that my first addiction, and when I view addiction, it's my philosophy on addiction is it's kind of escapism
Sure.
in one form or another.
Yeah.
My first addiction was skateboarding,
Okay.
and it progressed to chasing that feeling from beyond there.
Fair enough.
So I
Fair
know
enough.
some of your story, but
Yeah.
none of our listeners know your story. So please.
Yeah. Well, shoot. Let me just bring you up to speed, I guess. So, I grew up. My parents divorced when I was real young. I mean, just knee high to a pig's eye. I'm 5'6" now, so we're not talking, much height difference. But I was young. I was 3-4 years old, and um, went to live with my mother, who just through the years has struggled with some things, and as a result made some choices with some partners that wasn't the healthiest. So we kind of endured some things that kids shouldn't endure. And by the end of my probably 4th grade year, things had progressed to the point where that was no longer an option. And so authorities got involved and things happened. And so I came to live with my dad. And man, I can't say enough good things about that man. He's the hardest working man I know, outside of my grandfather, who passed in 2013. And speaking of my grandparents retired around that time, and spent their retirement raising us and helping my dad when my dad, had to be at work at 6 a.m. and didn't get done until about 8 p.m. And so we got back to our trailer long enough to get a little shut eye, and then we were back to my grandparents at around 4:35 in the morning, and spent all summers with them. And it was a really, really beautiful experience. There's a lot of things that we, didn't have that a lot of other kids had. I didn't, I wasn't raised in a Chick-fil-A family, where you had both parents and your house wasn't on wheels. But man, what we did have, we had the outdoors. We had a couple bicycles and a couple fishing poles, and we had a garden. And I had a grandfather who was a woodworker and was always outside, and was consistently tinkering and working on things, which is where I get a lot of that from. The problem was in those early years, when you are in the company of adults who don't know how to regulate their own emotions and struggle with mental health and a lot of ideation and threats and things of that nature. Well, then by nature, you become the one, or at least I became the one of my siblings who was always the person who was putting out fires, and always the one who was regulating emotions for adults, which means I never really understood how to process mine. I just knew that I was loved when I was effectively keeping somebody from going off the edge. And so you get into high school, and that kind of followed me. I was a small kid. I graduated at 5'1", 98 pounds. I know that because I wrestled through school, and I could tell you what I could tell you what I've weighed for the past 40 years. Just kind of a byproduct of being a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that, I was just the guy that everybody came to. I gained a lot of my worth because I didn't really have any for myself. I gained a lot of my self-worth from being able to solve other people's problems, which meant that I looked for chaos, because if there's chaos, then I have value. And so you get into ministry. I got into full-time ministry at 19, was a pastor for 13 years. Clearly, if you're watching this, non-denominational, because I am absolutely covered in tattoos, which my Baptist family loves. And got into ministry, and you can imagine that was just a straight tap to the vein for an affirmation addict. And so we talk about addiction, and we talk about the idea of me not struggling with some of the formal addictions that people kind of associate. But I was an addict. I was an addict to other people's affirmations. I was an addict to um, being a yes man and solving problems. And so I got married to my son's mom in 2011. We had Stetson in 2014, and by 2015, she had told me that she wanted a divorce, mostly because I had married the wrong woman. And by that, I don't mean I married the wrong woman in Stetson's mom. I married the church. And I was working 18 hours a day. I couldn't say no. Nothing was ever good enough. My mental health was about as poor as it could have been. I loved what I did. Don't get me wrong. I loved what I did. I loved the people. I loved the ministry. I loved God. I loved the call on my life. I just didn't know how to steward it effectively. And I think sometimes we just keep saying yes, and to the point where we don't really even know what we're saying yes to. We just don't know how to say no. And I didn't know how to say no. And so continue on over the next year. I'm walking through a very public divorce because I'm kind of a public figure in Tulsa, and no good story. Just didn't work. And in the midst of that, went through a very tremendous season of loss. I lost an 18-month-old niece to the worst case of sexual assault to a minor on Oklahoma record. I lost a 19-year-old sister to murder. I lost a best friend to suicide. I lost my mentor to a motorcycle accident. I lost 3 friends in ministry to suicide, all while I'm trying to navigate what it means to not be a husband anymore and to not have my son all the time. And so there's a lot of identity issues swirling. And I didn't know it because I think when you're in leadership roles, you start to normalize the chaos of your life. And we love to use the phrase of like, I'm built this way. I'm built different. And you may be, but your body isn't. And I was sleeping, Bjorn, I was sleeping maybe 1 to 2 hours a night. I saw everything. So I held my sister's hand as she passed. I was there to identify my niece, who had just been completely torn apart. I was there when my mentor passed. I was there. I led all the funerals. I'm 42. I've led 148 funerals to date. I've just seen things that people aren't supposed to see in a capacity that people aren't supposed to experience, I think. But God has placed that in my life. And as a result, I was sleeping 1 to 2 hours because the night terrors, I couldn't get out of my head. And it just got worse and worse. To the point where I got sick one night. And Stet's mom and I had this agreement that like, hey, listen, if one of us is sick, just come get Stetson and we'll just figure time out. She's one of my closest friends. We're amazing friends. We just want to get married. That's it. So we do all of our holidays together. We do everything together. She was just here. And I guess by the time she got to pick up Stetson, she came in, and I guess I was unconscious or going in and out of consciousness. And so legend has it, she drugged me to her car and took me to the hospital, where I was unconscious for about 3 days. On the 3rd day, I did rise again. I'm not making any similarities. I'm just saying that happened. And I was about 30 pounds lighter. I was, 123 pounds soaking wet. For reference, I'm about 175 now. I was just emaciated, and I walked myself over to that mirror in that hospital room as I woke up, and I looked at myself after just leading my best friend's funeral, after just leading my sister, and I was like, "Is this the legacy? Is this it?" As you buried your best friend and his 5-year-old son was in the front row, who's going to sit with your son? Is he going to say, "Man, yeah, he did everything for everybody, but I never knew him. I never got the chance"? And so the nurse comes in, kind of gets on to me because I'm not supposed to be walking around. I didn't know that. And I said, I've been making hospital visits my entire life. My grandfather was a deacon in the church. That's just what we do. We take care of people. I'm a pastor. We take care of people. I'm like, how many people have, like, who's come? Like, who's been here? What's, like, where is everybody? And she's like, I mean, your family came by, but no, nobody's been here. And that's okay. But what it helped me understand was that nobody's coming to save me. And so I asked myself a question in front of a mirror that kind of became the cornerstone of everything that I do now. And the question is like, what's got to die in you to become the man that you said that you'd be?
I
Which
love it
which
when you
which led
said
me
that.
on a journey, man. I didn't really know personal development. I was a ministry. I had no idea of like the coaching space. I didn't know any of that world.
Mhm.
And so I started sharing a bit of my story because I kind of healed up a little bit, and I went to my church and I said, "Hey guys, I can't keep doing this. I've got to step out. I got to take care of myself. I'm not at this point. I'm not really sure what I believe. I don't know if I believe it because my grandparents raised me to believe it. I don't know if I believe it because I went to school for it. I don't know if I believe it because I'm paid to teach it. There's a lot of things I need to work on." And I need to process this stuff. And I can't process it if I'm always working for the weekend and I'm always trying to be all things to all people. I got to figure this
Yeah.
out, not just for me, but for my kid. And all I knew was like Christianese curriculum and like respectfully, like it was just Reese's and pieces of, Jesus. And it didn't fit where like I had too many questions. I had too much pain, dude. And, so I started sharing my story online. I just started sharing kind of some of the complexities I was walking through, some of the questions that I had, and it kind of resonated with people. And things started going viral to the point where, it was about 2 months out of ministry. I went to my first entrepreneurial conference because somebody invited me because all of my content was going viral. So they thought that I was in
Mhm.
coaching and writing content. And I wasn't, but I thought, well, I want to help people. And maybe on the backside of this, there can be some fruit. And
Yep.
so
Yeah.
I go to the conference, don't know anybody. Um, but I know how to be a pastor. So I'm like, I'm just going to know everybody by the end of this. I'm going to treat this like a church conference. And
There
so I
you go.
did. And I'll tell you, just to make a short story long, how it all kind of blew up for me was so serendipitous. So we're in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's early June, and I am fresh out of ministry. I am weeks out of ministry, so nothing's different for me. Like I'm still in
Mm.
that world in my head.
Yes.
And the conference is in Phoenix, Arizona, which, man, it's just hotter than Satan's armpit. And the power ends up going out in the facility that we're hosting this conference in. And there's about 250 people there. And, I've been a part of conferences that are upwards of 40,000 people. So like it wasn't big to me, but apparently it's big because people are more qualified in the room. And there's like a who's who. And so the
God,
power
man.
goes out and it's lunchtime and it's getting hot. This is a building called Galvanize. It's literally a steel building in the middle of Phoenix.
It's an oven.
It's a baked potato. Yeah. So I go outside and I'm talking to the workers because I'm just a good old boy from Oklahoma. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, man, transistors blew. I'm like, well, what are we looking at here? They're like, tomorrow morning. And I'm like, that's not going to work, actually. So I go to the food trucks and I'm like, hey, I need you guys to relocate to our hotel. We have no power here. We have to reconvene. I called the hotel and I said, hey, we're all staying with you. We've all got the room block. I need a room that's going to seat 300 people. I need 300 chairs. I need two screens up front with projectors. I need AV pipe through the back. We're going to plug in a laptop. I need 2 handheld mics and 1 wireless lapel. How much time? And they're like, 60 minutes. I'm like, perfect. So I go over to AV. I'm like, hey, we need to dump everything onto a drive for the rest of the presentations, and we're going to just go over to the hotel. I go to the founder who invited me, but doesn't know me from Adam. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, so here's what's happened. The power's out. We're not getting power back until the morning. So food trucks are going over to the hotel. We've already got shuttles coming to pick everyone up. We can reconvene in an hour where they're going to have a banquet room set up for us. AV has already got everything downloaded. And so we're going to we're shuttle people over. And he looks at me and goes, who the F are you? And dude, when I tell you, I'm like, my heart sank because I realized like, oh, oh gosh, I'm not in the church. I'm not, this isn't my event. Cause I'd done events for 13 years at scale. So it's like when something happens, you just fix it.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Yep.
I ruined everything, dude. Like this is my one shot and I overstepped. But we get over there and we everybody's eating and I'm low, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
what did I do? And but everybody keeps coming to me. Are you the guy who like organized all this? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, dude, how did you even know to do that? That is amazing. And I'm like, oh, I was a pastor. And so then everybody wants to know about the pastor story and everybody wants to know where I'm from. And And so then, maybe I didn't ruin things. And so I grab my food and I see this older gentleman with, silver hair sitting by himself and pastor. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So I go over and I sit with him and he's like, you're the pastor. I'm like, I'm the pastor. And he's like, I'm a pastor. I'm like, thank God. Um, and he's like, I knew you were in ministry because that's a ministry move to just go solve something. I'm like, yeah, I just didn't want to overstep. He's like, no, dude, everybody's talking about it. It's amazing. He's like, do you want to be on my podcast? And I'm like, what's a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
Yeah.
he's like, it's like a radio show. I'm like, he's like, it is a radio show and we do it as a podcast, which just means it's on Apple. I'm like, yeah, dude, when do you want to do it? He's like, let's do it right now. We'll just go up to my room. I'm like, mate, let's do it. And side note, don't go to strange men's rooms that you don't know at a conference.
Yeah,
But I
I've
was
done that
so
one too.
green, I didn't know, dude. And so we go and I put the cans on and I look at his mic. I'm like, oh, SM7B. And he's like, are you a musician? I'm like, yeah, I toured for about a decade when I was in ministry, singing and playing guitar and piano. And he's like, makes sense. He's like, do you have a bio? And I'm like, no. And I look up, beside me is a guy, his name's Tom Bilyeu, who now is a friend, but then wasn't. And he founded a company called Quest, which is the nutrition bars. And he's like, dude, what do you, I heard about how you did this. He's like, that's amazing. What are you up to in the world? And I didn't know what to say. So I'm like, man, right now I'm just helping pastors take guns out of their mouths. And he goes, do you lead with that? I was like, I don't know. Should I not? He goes, that's pretty heavy, dude. And I'm like, well, what about helping good men become great? He's like, yeah, dude, do that. You can market that. The other one, maybe just save that. I was like, okay. He's like, let that drive you, but maybe don't lead with it. I was like, all right. So then the gentleman comes over to me. He's like, do you have a bio? And I'm like, I certainly do not. And he's like, it's fine. I've done this for years. I'm like, cool. He's like, do you have a website? I'm like, I certainly do not. He's like, no problem. And I had just started on social media. I had maybe, a couple thousand followers, which are all mostly students from conferences that I've played and camps that I've played. And
yeah.
He puts his cans on. He's like, all right, are you ready? I'm like, let's go. And he goes, all right, everybody, welcome back. This is Alan Taylor with Entrepreneur Magazine, entrepreneur.com, and Entrepreneur Radio. And I'm like, I didn't even have an LLC,
what
dude.
did I get into?
Like, I'm not, that ain't me. But I shared the story and he asked a lot of questions and we talked about a lot of the things that you and I have just talked about and I've shared. And boy, would you know, dude, it went viral and it got picked up by like USA Today and the Today Show and I got syndicated. And that led to me being on about 150 podcasts that year. And, I'm just over 400 now and over 500 stages and just sharing the story of redemption and what life can look like on the backside of tremendous loss and why life is fragile and valuable and everyone is valuable and that a man without purpose is a ship without a rudder. So how do we help men step back into the purpose that I believe is God-given and God ordained so that we could steward effectively what we've been called to? And so, man, that's been the journey. And so that's a little snapshot of where I am. I met my lovely wife about 5 years ago. We've been married for about 3 years now and have an amazing bonus son. She is great friends with my co-parent, which just makes me happier than a clam because we're just one big family. We'll be doing 4th of July together. We do everything together. And that was really important to me because I never want my son to have to choose, and so it's my wife is probably the closest evidence that angels walk among us. She is the greatest source of peace in my life. Everybody asks me why I'm so good at what I do. And I got a woman that prays for me every day, man. So here we are.
Man, this is beautiful. There's some things in there that I didn't catch from the last time that I got to witness what you had told of your story. And there's some things in there that jumped out at me that you and I more or less share.
Yeah. What are
my
they?
father was a practicing alcoholic for many years, and he left alcohol and went to the church, which in many, many ways was good. But when you're dedicating so much of yourself to the church and bending over backwards, and I can only imagine what it felt like because he's a missionary pastor.
Yeah.
He's been to China, Kenya
Wow.
many, many times. I've gone with him to Mexico. But when you're investing yourself in my opinion at the time, to the detriment of your family, to help those outside your house, it was still an addiction.
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry.
Yeah, you're
Alexa's
good.
reminding me to do my push-ups.
There you
I'll cut
go.
that out.
Yeah, people, people always say that one of the greater measures of success in a man's life is what people say about him. And I think that that's half true, because I think, you know, you can put on a pretty good show and make a lot of friends in industry, and you have all the people say the right things. But to me, the greatest measure of success in a man's life is what does your family say about you? You know, and for me, that first year of Stetson's life, like, man, I missed so many things. I was in the same house. I was working from home, but I was so ingrained with what I was doing that there was just so many firsts that I missed. That I gratefully, with what God has given me today and the ways in which I live and move and have my being, I don't have to miss anything. I don't have to miss any of those firsts. I don't have to miss any of those practices. I don't have to miss any of those games. I don't have to miss anything at school. I get to be um, that dad.
Yeah. I can empathize with that too. I mean, as I said, as I told you, I'm a retired chef of 27 years. I started washing dishes at 14, 15 years old. I
Hmm.
worked my way up, and I've gotten awards in Las Vegas. I've been in, I don't know, 15 something different magazine articles. I've got all that. I've got interviews. I've been on TV.
Yeah.
That's great. What does
Yeah.
that mean to my 2 and 4-year-old? That means
Yeah.
daddy's not here.
That's right. That's
And
right.
it finally got to me. About 2 years into my son's life, just before my daughter was born, it had got to me. And it was a reflection that I don't want to be just the provider. I
That's
want to
it.
be the father.
That's it.
And I didn't want to repeat what I felt that I was neglected at in the past. So
Yeah.
let me make it clear. My dad and I have made peace. He's a wonderful 70 something, 75, 78-year-old man. I love him to death. I've confronted those things, and we have worked through them together. He is still heavily involved in a non-denominational church. Doesn't really go on many mission trips as a 75-year-old now, but he's actually coming up to visit next month.
Right.
And then coming from, my parents got divorced when I was 8. My dad moved to Vegas. My mom stayed here in Minnesota. And I reconciled this with myself not too long ago, actually, a couple years back, that my parents both got into new marriages after me. And my dad and stepmom had 2 kids, and my mom and stepdad have 2 kids. And I realized that I never felt a part of,
Yeah.
and I had to choose. So I can understand what you're saying. You never
Yeah.
want your son to have to choose.
That's right.
And there was a lot of unconscious choosing back then. And I realize that now. And now that I've made peace with that and I'm moving forward, I understand the preciousness and the sacredness of a family unit.
That's it.
So I'm glad you let me share those back with you. I know this is
Yeah.
your interview, but
Oh, man. We're
those are
just having
hitting
a
home, my
conversation.
man.
This is a conversation, brother. This is a
Those
conversation.
those hit home in
Yeah.
many different ways.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
So
sharing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity. So now you've moved through those things. You've described such a beautiful, unique relationship with your son's mom, your current wife, and you are absolutely blessed to have that.
I am.
I am, in reflecting on my own life and my addiction, and some people have said recently on a lot of my social media that I've been glorifying it. And by no means am I glorifying it. I am reliving and retelling my history to relate to other people. Yes, it is graphic. And yes, I can look back and laugh on it now, but I have zero regrets because it led me to exactly the point that I'm at today.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know I hurt people. I know people hurt me, and I've made my amends, and I've dealt with as much peace as I can make from those situations. 2 ex-wives, many lost jobs, homeless at a time. I've made my peace with that.
Yeah.
But all of those stepping stones got me to where I'm at today, and I'm very blessed and thankful to where I'm at today. So
Yeah, brother.
I think I gathered some of that. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it was rough, but yes, it molded me from what you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. And even just the loss that I've experienced, that, there was you know what? I'll bet you a lot of the people listening to this will relate to this in a really, really beautiful way. So if you're just it, you can check out after this, but catch this. I was hosting an event because I do a lot of speaking and hosting of things, and I was hosting an event with a dear friend of mine named David Bayer, and we always give each other heck because he's 6'5" and I'm 5'6", so us on stage together is a real comical experience.
It's
And
like
it's like when we both have a friend in Justin Wenzel, and the first time my son out at Keith Yackey's house in Cali met Justin, he's like, "Daddy's so much bigger than you." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, here we are." And in the same way, the first time he met David, because David just towers over people, but he said, Cody, for such a little guy, and I'm like, "Oh, go on." He's like, "You have the most light of anyone I've ever met in my life." And he's like, "Do you notice that?" Because we speak at a lot of the same events. And he's like, "Do you notice that, like, man, there are names that are bigger than you?" Which absolutely. He's like, "You're the only person that people will wait 8 hours, and you'll just sit and you'll talk to every single person, and you'll make sure every person is served." He's like, "There's so much light." He said, "Do you know why that light exists?" And I'm like, "Man, I think it's because I was a pastor for so long. And I just know what it is for people that settle for being seen but are desperate to be known. And so if I can play a role in helping people feel seen because they pay to be at an event, like uh, they deserve that time. I'm not a VIP guy. Don't put me at a VIP table. I don't want anything to do with any of that. Just put me with the people." And he said, "Well, that's noble, but that ain't it." I was like, "Well, do tell." And so for those of you who have walked through tremendous adversity in your life and you've seen things that, man, you just can't unsee, and life has dealt you a hand that maybe you didn't see coming, and maybe like me, in some ways you made your bed in hell for a while, and you wrestle with that, and you wrestle with the complexities of your own humanity and the ways in which you've brought the detriment to yourself and the choices that you've made that have allowed life to implode in some ways. But he said, "You're the only person I know that never gets out of trauma, because I lead, 1 to 2 to 3 funerals a month. And it's just always been that way." And he's like, "You're always in loss, and you have seen more things. You've seen brutal, brutal, brutal things that I don't think you'll ever escape. And because of that, because you absorb so much darkness, God has found a way in your soul to reflect that as light. And so the greatest gift in your life, in some really interesting way, is the amount of pain that you've taken on." And so for anyone that's listening or watching this on a replay, maybe the experiences of your life, maybe the ways in which you've made your bed in hell, maybe the ways in which you've uh, said yes to the vices that you couldn't quite overcome in a season, not because you didn't want to, but because life was so complex that you didn't know a way out.
mm-hmm.
that God is a God of redemption. God is a God who redeems time and opportunity. And that maybe you went through all of that because there was a particular grace that needed to be seasoned in you that could happen no other. And the only way that you'd be able to reflect the light and the humility and the love and the grace and the peace that you have now is in walking through the hell that you wouldn't wish on it.
Yeah, that was very eloquently stated, and I agree with 110% of that. And it's funny because we're finishing up Acts at my church right now,
Yeah.
and we just went through Saul to Paul.
Yeah. Conversion on Damascus.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we all have that story.
Yeah, and which for anybody who's looking to get into scripture, we're right now we're in what's called ordinary time in the church. We just came off of Trinity Sunday last Sunday, which is 50 days after Easter. And so now you reach into ordinary time, which there's no scheduled feasts. This is really just in the history of the church, this was a time where basically the disciples in the early church started to form and started to go out and started to actually do the work of being the church. And so Acts would be a really, really great place for anybody who's looking to get into to reading the scripture more effectively. Acts would be a really great place to start right now, because you get to start where the church actually forms in the church calendar. Like this is where we go from here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book, and I full transparency, a short religious background of myself. Born into Lutheran,
Hmm.
baptized in Lutheran when I was still a child and
Yeah.
circumcised, and went through church camp and then confirmation in high school, and I
Hmm.
treated it like it was just a social activity. Yeah, I bought in as much as I needed to, but God has always been watching me. Kind of during my later teen and 20s and 30s, 20s, I followed hallucinogenics. I wanted to find it in Eastern philosophy, in a bag of mushrooms, in whatever.
Hmm.
Got into hippie rainbow family and blah blah blah, and so I've, in sobriety and in the beginning stages of trying to get sober, started getting back into non-denominational church. And my father, he welcomed me into the churches in Las Vegas, and they were good. I just wasn't ready. I need to be that son who went out and spent all his money and went out and partied. And then now that I've finally made my journey back, which it wasn't from really me. I'm a parent now. I have been for 4 years, and now I have 2. And I want to teach these children to be amazing people, to be right people, to be kind to those around them. But why? What's behind my morality? It's just because I said so? Because that doesn't hold a lot of weight. So I want something more. And so my wife, who was raised LDS, and
Hmm.
we've been together 8 years, married a little bit over 5, and we agreed that we were going to start trying something. So we first went back to a Lutheran church, and it did not feel right at all.
Yeah.
No offense, and I respect
Sure.
everybody who's there. It felt, for me personally, more about tradition and circumstance and ritual than it felt like a church. We did get a beautiful book. It's the Spark Bible. My
Yeah.
son reads that every night. He insists
I
on
love it.
reading that every night. I
Yeah.
love it. It's
It's
great.
great.
Breaks down the stories to a 4-year-old understanding. Um, we so we went, and through a recommendation of a friend of mine, I found this church called Branch Church, which has only been a church for 5 years. It's a 120-year-old building. It's a beautiful place. It started from 50 members 5 years ago to we're over 700, and they're talking about adding another service on Sundays because it's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing. The moment we walked in, it felt like home.
That's
Every
good.
church I've ever been into in life has some form of clickiness. This one does not have it all. As they put on the sermons on Sunday, you can hear 15 different babies, toddlers, and whatever crying. The pastor just keeps going. There's a room in the back if they really get out of hand, but they have church camp and kids camp. And I went on a men's retreat a couple months ago. It feels like home, and the message is just so clear and relatable. And maybe it's the message, and maybe it's the church, and maybe I'm just finally ready.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's likely both of those.
Yeah. And what a beautiful story to be able to come back home with seeing with fresh eyes for the first time what faith can look like, and what family can feel like. It's a beautiful testimony.
Yeah. And they're doing another baptism on July 26th, and I'm going to go.
Good for you, brother.
I need it.
Welcome home. Welcome home.
I don't know if you can hear that, but for some reason, Alexa chimed in. Anyway, she told me congratulations.
Amazing.
God speaks in mysterious ways.
That's it.
But yeah, no, I feel like we've already known each other, but now I
Mhm.
feel even more so.
Yeah.
Your story is an amazing story. I can't even begin to talk about it. It's semi-speechless. You are an inspiration, and I feel blessed to have been able to talk to you, to know you, and to hear your story, and just celebrate you of what you've become, where you have been, and where you're going now. Let's talk about the wonderful places that God has put you now, where your path is led. Because I love all of the things that you post, your perspective, not only on life, but on the Bible, obviously on old trucks and stuff. I love that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But let's get into now.
Yeah, man. I mean, and so I use social media more as a way to steward the acumen that I've developed over the past 23 years and the academic studies that I've done and the pieces of paper that I've accumulated and the people that I've walked with. I've just seen too many people utilizing the name of Jesus for marketing purposes without really any really strong theological background for that. Which, listen, love God, love people, and proclaim it until the cows come home. And also recognize that when you speak the name of Jesus or you represent faith inside of the conversation of marketing, you're held to a higher standard eternally. And so I just recognized that there was a call on my life to just foster healthy theology. And so that's a lot of what I utilize social media for, is just to be a pastor online. And people have really picked up on it. And it reaches a lot of people, which is really, really cool. Far more than I ever thought possible. But, look at God, So yeah, we started a brotherhood called 126, and it's based off of Genesis 126, that God created man for dominion over the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, the beasts of the land, and everything that crawls. And it's not a conversation of domination. I've been in the space for about a decade now, and I've taught at pretty much every men's mastermind and brotherhood and conference that you can, and pretty much every business conference that you can, because I've done pretty well in the conversation of business. And I recognized that a few things were true. Either one, everything was solely focused on money, which is fine. Money solves most problems. You know what I mean? Being broke doesn't solve any. And if you're in the game of business, you should want to make more money. That's kind of why you're in it.
Point.
But there was no formation. It was just all about how to grow financially, how to grow your entity, and not even how to become a better leader in the process or steward it more effectively. Just how do we grow top line while protecting bottom line? Cool. And then, you have men's movements where it was like a very interesting, which I think is useful for some guys, but like cosplay military, like let's go on a 3-day experience where like you get broken down to be built up and all these things. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm from the country. You're one, you're not going to yell at me. That dog ain't on a hunt. And two, like if I wanted to be in the military, I would have joined the military. I don't need to cosplay it for a weekend and think I'm some sort of, person who's out there slaying dragons. You know what I mean? I'm like, buddy, you're like on an elliptical at 6 a.m. Like, let's not, you got a mortgage. Let's not church it up here. Like you're not slaying dragons out here. Or it was so campy. Like a lot of the Christian men's stuff was, you got the same guys coming in from the community who own an insurance agency or something, and they kind of tell the same story. And it's just not real. It's just real syrupy. And we're not getting into the heart of like, that's all well and good. And I've created success. But why do I still feel this way? Why do I still feel so disconnected? Why do I feel isolated? I thought that this was going to give me everything that I wanted. Why am I still drinking? Why am I drinking more than when I started? Why am I isolating from my family? Why am I addicted to work? Because I'd rather do that because it doesn't talk back, and I know I've messed things up with my wife, and so it's just easier for me to avoid it, and we can just exist as roommates. I don't know my kids anymore, but I don't think that they want to know. Like, why are we not talking about all these things? Why are we not talking about mental health? Why are we not talking about addiction? Why are we not talking about suicide? Why are we not talking about things that actually plague us? And so I've formed other masterminds in the past. Had one called Elite, had one called Roundtable. All the buzzwords that they choose inside of the coaching industry. And I had a dream one night, and I say this recognizing that people have certain aversions to church speak, and so I want you to know this is true for me, and so you can take it with a grain of salt. But I had a dream, and I feel the Lord came to me in a dream, and it was a stadium filled with men and with sons and with grandfathers, and they all had 126 on their chest, and I had no idea what any of that meant, because I just wasn't. I was asleep, and I wake up, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What was that? Because I was on the stage leading this, but it wasn't about me because there were other men leading it. Some I knew, some I didn't know. But I was at the forefront of it. And I woke up, and it was, Bjorn, it was immediate. I heard Genesis 1:26. I created man for dominion. I never called you to build a mastermind. I called you to lead a mandate. And so now My heart's mission, my heart's cry, the purpose of my life is to bring about kingdom restoration and revival in the hearts of fathers. My boys and I and my wife went to a concert a couple nights ago. A guy named Forrest Frank. I've got a good buddy.
Yeah.
I've got a good buddy who is on tour with him, and so he got us some tickets, and we got to go back
Very
and
nice.
hang out and everything. And I'm watching 20,000 kids, 7 years old, 6 years old, 11 years old, all worshiping at the top of their lungs. And I'm looking at this and I'm weeping, dude. I'm just crying, looking at what God is doing in the hearts of these kids. And then I look around and I see them all, a lot of them with moms. And I'm like, where are the dads? And placed an even heavier burden. Like, I mean, this just happens week on week. The burden increases. That my call is to facilitate a movement of men who want to reconcile their own humanity for the sake of the cross and become the best leaders, to steward effectively the gifts that they've been called to build big infrastructure and to build big business, to make as much money as possible so that we can be as generous as we can, to be physically strong and healthy, to be mentally sound and healthy, to have a peace that surpasses all understanding, a purpose that is governed by a living God that says, I have not called you because you are equipped. I will equip you wherever I call you. And maybe you need some frameworks. Maybe you need some accountability. Maybe you need some brotherhood. Maybe you need a place to land when life has dealt you a hand of cards that you didn't ask for. 126 is that place. And that's what we're building. And that's what I'm most passionate about. I love the work one-to-one that I do with companies and with founders. I love scaling companies. I love exiting companies. It's a mess, but I love doing it. I love speaking. I love leading. But at the end of this life, man, the greatest success in my life is not going to be that I built an empire, because it's going to burn. It's not that I'm going to have a lot of money in the bank, because that's going to burn. It's not that I leave my kids this big inheritance, because that's going to burn. It is that there will be a line wrapped around the church 10 times over of families who just want to come shake my kids' hands because in some way what we did mattered. That's it. And that they would carry that on, that they would become the husbands and the fathers and the leaders that is going to be required to fight the things that we are fighting against. That's it.
That's it. You sure? That's epic, man.
Yeah.
And I
But
see
I believe
you
every
doing it.
man should have a God-sized vision that is that big. I believe we're all called to it. I believe we're called in different capacities with different skill sets and different passions and different opportunities, different stories. But the call is the same. And the gravity of the call is the same. And the bigness of the call is the same. But it 100% starts in the home. Don't you dare lead anything if you're not leading your home.
So it seems that the dynamic of this conversation that you and I are having is you share and then I express some
Come on, bring it, bro.
happiness.
Bring it.
So
Ping it back.
about 8 months, 12 months ago, I'm looking at life. I'm going on 13. Well, 8 months ago, I was going on 12. Now I'm 12 and a half years sober. Life is pretty good.
Yeah.
Mostly happy wife. I have functional children. I had left the kitchen. I'm spending more time and actively involved in the get up, make breakfast, daily life. And I rejoice in that every day. I want to start thriving. And not just for me. I want to create a legacy for my children.
Yeah.
I want to create comfort. And as you said, money solves a lot of problems. Money is fleeting. I am a very money comes, money goes kind of guy, but yes, I can't deny that it helps.
Yeah.
So, being as I work full time and I have these things and I have a lot minimal time, what can I do? This is the internal dialogue. What can I do with the skill set that I have, the minimal free time that I have to help start stacking chips in my favor to help
Yeah.
my family get to a point where I can thrive. We can buy hunting land. We can have generational wealth. I can donate to the church. We can be more service to more people starting here. Started looking at stock options, looking at other things, and maybe, just nothing felt really right. And absolutely plug indefinitely to Justin Wenzel. I caught one of his posts.
Yeah.
The world needs more healed men.
Yeah.
I replayed it a couple times. And I started thinking about it. And that's what I have. That is something that nobody can take away from me. Only me, but that's something I have. I've put myself through this whirlwind. If you've seen a lot of my posts, I tell a lot of my story about how I have burned my life to the ground several times.
Yeah.
Near death a few times. And I've come back from it. And the reason that right after I got sober, I was so overly nice to people is because of the guilt that I carry. That guilt has dissipated, and I find joy in being that kind of a person now. I don't feel guilty over what happened.
Yeah.
So I set up a call. After a couple days, I finally got it, and I set up a call with Justin, and we talked at length about our similarities, our paths, what he does, and I had a feeling. I was like, well, maybe this is something I can do because it's my innate, it's what I've learned, it's what I live, it's what I'm providing that. So about coaching. It was, as you know, Justin's not a small commitment, but, and I didn't really know a lot about him other than the conversation.
Yeah.
I had a literal stomach flipping inside and out that whole night.
Sure.
I didn't know it was an opportunity. It's a big ask. It's a big payout reward, not just monetarily, but the waves that I could create in the pond of this life for others is huge. I was gut rot all night. I prayed about it probably 20 times between 4 p.m. and when I went to sleep. I woke up that next morning feeling as if 100 pounds had been lifted from my shoulders. And this is not even figuratively speaking, the first words that I heard inside my heart and inside my head was, this is what you're supposed to do. And the feeling was gone. And I called Justin up, and I was January or February, and I'm very, very early into this, and I'm giving it my all, and I'm still balancing life with work and job and my wife and kids and keeping the house clean every day. But I'm going to give this my all because this is a gift that I've been given.
Yeah.
That I fought for, that I have fought through to get to where I'm at. If everything that I'm doing, if this podcast reaches one person, it's every bit worth it. I don't do the podcast because I want somebody to see this and get marketed to me to follow me as a coach. If you don't want me as a coach, it's fine. Maybe you're not ready. That's okay. I wasn't ready many times. But if my coaching and my stories and my relatability reach that right person and their life changes and everybody around them gets better, loves more, treats those around them with kindness and respect and compassion, it's a rock in a pond that will just continue. And that is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I didn't see a stadium full of people. I know I was told to do this, but I think it's very similar. And thank you for letting me wind down that little story road.
Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I'm a collector of stories. So.
Yeah, man. It's amazing when the Lord speaks to you.
It is. It is.
You can't ignore it, that's for sure.
No, you can. Jonah did. You can. And recognize, and I think a lot of people do. I know for me, a lot of the trepidation of my life is not because I didn't know that I was called. I knew that I was called, and that's what scared me. Because I knew what it would require of me. And I think a lot of men struggle with that. I don't think we struggle with failing so much. I think if you've struggled in any particular way, whether that be with addiction or just life in general, you're kind of used to failing. You kind of got a PhD in that. You know how to do that really well. It is the conversation of who you have to become on the backside of fulfilling a vision that you can see. That's where it gets That word is because who does it tie you to? Who does it separate you from? Who do you fall out of contact with? What kind of standards do you have to hold for yourself? What kind of new practices you need to put in place? What kind of responsibility you're going to be stewarding from here on out? It can be a daunting conversation of who you have to become, and I think that's what scares most men. Is not the failure aspect. It is there's a quote that says, our greatest fear is that we're not inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're more powerful than we could imagine, and I think that's true. Because maybe we hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe nobody's spoken it into our lives. Maybe we had parents that didn't really foster that in us. And then you catch a glimpse of it and you try to talk yourself out of it. Like, no, that's not for me. That's for everybody else. It certainly can't be for me because I don't even know who I'd have to become. But I can tell you, just as the Israelites took that first step into the parted Red Sea, it was Moses who struck a staff down and their first steps that made that separation happen. And what's interesting is God didn't give Moses something new and flashy and shiny to use. He gave him the same staff that he had been using his entire life to shepherd sheep. And so recognize that everything that you have in your hands, everything that you've built up to this point is uniquely ordained for the season that's ahead of you. You have everything that you need to take that next right step. They didn't know where the sea stopped. They didn't know what was beyond the mist. They just knew that even though I'm scared, because fear and peace can exist in the exact same moment, even though I'm afraid, there's a peace that I know who orchestrates my steps. So I'm going to take what's in my hands and I'm going to take that next right step and I'm going to keep walking in faith. I may not be behind a pulpit anymore, but I will still preach.
Keep preaching. Keep preaching, my man. Keep preaching. Yeah. I think that's a much more accurate representation. Is because honestly, looking back, I'm sure I was called many times, but I was just wearing earplugs of comfort and fear to where I wasn't ready to listen. And now that I feel like I've brought myself by leading the way and stewarding my family, that I'm ready to hear everything. Bring it on.
Yeah.
You'd made me. Let's see what this body can do. Let's see what this soul can do.
That's right.
My man. Oh, this has been amazing.
Dude, it's been a good conversation.
I'm blessed and I feel like I'm the lucky one here, but I appreciate your time and I know you appreciate mine because that's what kind of man you are.
Yeah, man.
But this has been awesome.
I'm grateful. Yeah, grateful to have this experience. Grateful to have a conversation with you. Grateful to hear more of your story, brother. And I don't think we say this to each other enough as men. I'm genuinely really proud of you. Your life could have gone a lot of different ways. And I cannot imagine that the road that you chose to take was easy. Can't imagine it wasn't without its own complexities and a lot of rebuilding and a lot of trying to smooth over things that had been destructive in your life. And you didn't run from it. You faced it. And on the backside of that, the fruit of your life is evident. And just want to remind you that God has chosen you. God has ordained you for such a time as this. And that I believe that there are men that are going to see your story and see your content and hear the ways in which you have navigated with humility to the place that you're at now. And that the ripples of your impact will be felt for generations. And that the seeds that you plant now, your kids will sit under the shade of that tree that you'll never see.
That they do. And then they plant seeds.
That's right. That's the gift.
Okay, so this is the first episode that I caught a tear on. But thank you. I'm okay with that. I have no shame. Out of all the things I've done, I have no shame. I'll cry in front of people. Oh, man. Cody, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you. So the obligatory wrap up. Where can people find you?
Under the hood of my truck. No, they can, or in the
That
wrestling
too.
room. No, you can find me. I'm pretty active on social media. I would say probably the one I'm most active on is Instagram. So it's just Cody Jefferson. You can find out more about our brotherhood at 126brotherhood.com. You can find out more about me at codyjefferson.com. You kind of got the Cliff Notes version and maybe a little bit more in-depth version in this conversation. But if you ever want to have a conversation with me personally, recognize I answer every single message that comes my way. I told God a long time ago that I never got too cool or too popular or too busy to not speak to people who are looking for truth. That He could just take all of this away from me. So I believe that everyone has a unique story. I believe your story is worth sharing. I believe your story is worth hearing. And if you want to trust me with that story, you got my ear.
Thank you, my man. Well, this has been a fun ride, to say the least. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This one hit. Like, this one hit. Thank you, Cody. I very much appreciate your time.
Likewise.
I can't thank you enough, and I'll be reaching out more. And
Please.
oh, this is amazing. I'm gonna be checking out 126. I didn't really know a lot about that, but
Yeah.
I'll be checking it out tonight.
Come on.
After I go put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
But Cody, again, thank you. This has been amazing. I've repeated myself 7 times now, but everybody, I hope you've made it this far in this episode. Even though he said you could tap out earlier, I hope you made it this far. This is this one's for the books, and I hope maybe if 20, 30 episodes down the road, I get you on here again.
Brother, listen, I'll come back as often as you'll have me.
Much appreciated.
I'm in your corner. I believe that every man requires 4 brothers in his life to carry a corner of their mat when they find themselves in seasons of need or desire. And so you just consider me one of the guys who has a corner of your mat, and anything you need from me, you got it.
Thank you, sir. Well, everybody, thank you, and I hope y'all have a wonderful and blessed night. Peace.